Hey everyone, Miss GoElectric here. Today I'm in New York City at New Lab, and New Lab is a very interesting place here because it's an incubator for technology companies, but one that you might not have expected is an e-bike company called Vela, and I'm sitting with Justin here. He is the co-founder and CEO of Vela Bikes, and I caught wind that they are actually going to start manufacturing their e-bikes in my state. So I want to learn more and find out a little bit more about Vela Bikes. So let's get into it. All right, Justin, there are hundreds of companies that are coming out with e-bikes, and it seems like the competition is pretty thick, and there's a lot to offer here, but why did you decide to get into the fray of e-bikes?
Well, I've always been an avid cyclist myself, and e-biking really came to me by coincidence. I had been living and working here in New York City, about 5 minutes away from where we sit right now, and I lived around the corner from the first Van Moof store ever outside of Europe. And I actually purchased one of the first electric Van Moofs, the electrified S, and I was working in finance and I was commuting to Midtown, and it was about a 10-mile commute, and really was hating the subways, hating taxis, hating all the normal ways of commuting, and absolutely fell in love with biking and commuting via an e-bike. It allowed me to stop in Tribeca for an espresso or go a completely different route through a neighborhood in Brooklyn that I never even knew existed. And so I really enjoyed that e-bike and the freedom that it gave me. Then relocated to Los Angeles and coincidentally lived 10 miles away from my office there. And even though LA is not that bike friendly, I actually got an e-bike there and started commuting via e-bike and beating all my coworkers into work and absolutely loving commuting in that type of city as well.
The warm weather. No.
In the warm weather and no winters like it is outside, and really enjoying e-biking and the freedom and the ability to put a suit on, not drip in sweat. I was working in finance and really, needed to be both professional, but also, everything showing up at dates or showing up at other things that really allowed me to kind of get around and really enjoy my life much fuller. Around the same time, I met my co-founder, Victor Cruz, who had started Vela Bikes in 2012 in Sao Paulo, Brazil, as a very small niche brand that was selling electric bikes using a lot of the similar componentry. Actually was looking at my old Van Moof recently and used the exact same motor as we used. And so a lot of similar crossover in the product that he had created in Sao Paulo, which was obviously a very different market in South America than Europe, had to be a different price point. So it was about half the cost of a Van Moof, and it had to be repaired anywhere around the country. So it had to have repairability much higher than anything else on the market. So we started building these beautiful e-bikes in 2014 and really grew to a cult following. There's people, as I was telling you before we got on camera, there's people with Vela tattoos on their arms. If you're ever in Brazil and you throw out the word Vela or look around, you will see Velas scattered throughout the country in South America. And I really was enamored with this beautiful product that he had created. And thought that it would do well in the US market and in other markets. And so we decided to join forces and bring Vela Bikes to the United States. And at first I was, it was interesting to see kind of where we were in the market. This was just before COVID. We started bringing product in, and one of the most interesting things in the first couple of batches and containers that we brought in, we sold almost 2/3 to females and about 80% to first-time e-bike riders. And knowing the market and knowing that almost three quarters of the market was male dominated, and there was a lot of e-bikes out there zipping through the woods at 28 miles per hour and very masculine in terms of their design, in terms of what they were going after in terms of marketing. really felt that we had something special and unique, that the design really lowered the barrier of entry for people to want to try something new. And so we got excited and we really started toying around with the idea of scaling up production. And for that, we scaled up production in China. And, you know, we were kind of off to the races after that.
So now that you are shifting manufacturing to Detroit, can you talk about why you picked that particular city and what that move means for the company, your kind of future outlook?
Yeah. So back when we decided to scale up production, China was really the only option. It's really China or Taiwan. There were a couple of other options, but really our suppliers since 2014 were in China. Most of our componentry, most of the e-bike componentry in the industry is through China, so it made sense at that time. But given the fact that we have a unique battery design, we have a unique design from the ground up, we wanted to, and really held design to be a core pillar of what we're creating from the beginning. Oftentimes, design has been, it's getting better, but has been an afterthought for a lot of brands. But I always like to say that like e-bikes are like the cell phone industry. We finally have stabilized or plateaued that allow us to really incorporate more of the design piece into what we're all creating. And so we decided to scale up production in China, and we're faced with the same issues that, quite frankly, the entire industry was hit with. Undersupply, now oversupply, shipping issues, quality issues, communication issues, travel issues, tariff issues at certain points. Really all the things that everyone has faced. I like to say the cons list is, very, very long of producing in China, yet we all seem to continue to have gone towards that route. 2-year production windows, you name it. But really why we chose to move production to the United States, we wanted to do it honestly from the beginning, but there weren't that many options. There really aren't that many options. You can do what Electric Bike Company in California is doing, you can do what some others are starting to do, but it's really difficult to go in and make that choice as a company. There isn't the same ecosystem that exists in Asia and Europe to build bikes in the country, unfortunately, because we, rewind the tape, we were the absolute center of building bikes around the world, and there's no reason why we can't do that for e-bikes and do it at a cost-effective place. So there were really only about 5 or 6 options for us to choose a partner to produce in the United States. And as many people from Detroit often ask, why did you choose Detroit? Detroit chose us in many ways. We were the best fit. Detroit Bikes, which is an incredible sister company of ours now. We manufacture in the same plant, which I'm excited to show you one day soon. We have the same steel frame. We have the same powder coating. We have a lot of the same structural overlap, which made our ability to shift production into that facility very easy. Many other frames, if it's aluminum, if it's other paint types, if it's other, there's lots of different variations in there that would allow a lot more complexity. So it was, for us, the best marriage to be able to shift very quickly once we kind of worked through all the details, very quickly into and start assembly, QC, and soon to be full manufacturing.
So I'm sure this was a consideration, but why not in Brazil?
Great question. We tried Brazil. Unfortunately, actually goes back to tariffs and timing and shipping logistics of shipping the componentry. So right now, we for our South American product and in Brazil, all the componentry is shipped to Brazil, and then the final painting and final assembly happens in Brazil. We then were going to ship the final product up to the United States, but that we were going to get hit with tariffs both coming into Brazil and then also coming into the United States, so twice. And so what we always wanted to do from the beginning was to find a similar, same setup as Brazil has to ship all the componentry and do final painting assembly in the United States. We really, for 2.5, 3 years, we're looking for who and how we were going to do this. It really took that long to make that decision, which is crazy because in Asia, you could, my inbox on LinkedIn every single day has 5 people who are willing to do all those things for us. And there's literally 5 in the United States that exist, unfortunately.
So was there any other deciding factor that kind of like pulled you in that direction that kind of stands out to you as to that particular place? Because there were 5, so that was kind of why there was the consideration.
I'm born and raised in Baltimore. I've got a soft spot for the underdog. Yep, and I really felt more and more at home in Detroit, and continue to feel more and more at home, and love the city, and love this idea of really one of the first times we toured the factory. There's incredible situation happening where you have former auto workers who are welders welding bike frames, and then you have these newer generation that understand wiring harnesses and these electronics and this cutting edge and the battery technology, and being in Dearborn, a couple miles down the road from Ford, and it just all started to click that this was actually something bigger. And this is, I hope, and I said this in multiple interviews and multiple discussions, like as many CEOs I want to reach out to see our model and the decision making that led to us making this pretty gutsy bet going all in on being US made. Happy to answer and show an open book of all that and how it actually makes sense economically. So, I definitely, I really felt the pull there. It's an incredible ecosystem, and I'm betting that, not just in company, but me personally, I really think that Detroit is going to be the center of something more for electric mobility, and really the capital for the U.S. and hopefully, the U.S. taking more and more a share of this.
Yeah, and it's at this point in time, we talked about that it is the wild, wild west. So there's a lot that can happen, but the talent base that's in Detroit or surrounding area is pretty amazing to pull from. Now this facility, New Lab, they also have one in the Detroit area. So can you talk a little bit about, because you'll have some presence there too, right?
So we joined up with New Lab, some of our advisors in the business who used to run hardware at Peloton and connected to Lime scooters and all that, said that if you wanted to be in hardware in New York City and in Brooklyn, you had to be at New Lab. An incredible ecosystem of over 1,600 members. You can both commiserate, you can share lab space, you can bounce ideas off our fellow mobility companies, Clip, Pave, Civilized, Tarform. You really can pull people together and tap into that incredible knowledge base. Really coincidentally, New Lab is opening their now second location at Michigan Central in Detroit, and the backing of Michigan Central is Ford. And so in one of the core pillars of their new location is mobility. And
do you specifically see scale becoming a big prominent factor as a result of having that automotive presence there?
Yeah, it's funny, we were talking to someone in the automobile industry, and we said that if one of the robotic welders were to fall off the back of a truck, whatever, GM and Ford probably have hundreds, thousands of them. If one of them fell off the back and found its way into our factory, the level of automation and the level of optimization that we could really start incorporating into the e-bike world is truly breathtaking. And I hope, and I not only hope, I believe in and I'm betting in that a lot of that innovation that's happening not only in the automobile world of robotics and everything, but also electric batteries, you name it, will all start trickling down to not only us, but the other mobility companies that decide to locate in and around Detroit. The weeks after announcing our move to Detroit, my inbox was flooded by suppliers, by people in the industry wanting to reach out, wanting to offer support, wanting to find ways to connect and really dive into it. The governor's team, the mayor's team, you name it, across the board, the amount of support and uplifting encouragement for the shift and move that we made is pretty amazing. And it's something that I think they see and they understand that blank canvas that Detroit is really going to be able to be, in charge of writing the rules and being center of mobility and electric mobility going forward is amazing.
I completely agree. Now, hot topic wise, what do you think in the e-bike industry is going to be like those future technology integrations that we'll see, that you hope to see expand throughout the business?
So we have a fast charger, and fast charging and how to optimize charging and how to optimize charging networks and how to really pull into more of an ecosystem around charging, I think is something that we're only at the beginning of. We have a fast charging network around Sao Paulo. One of our docks is actually right over there. And that fast charger allows, instead of a normal 3-hour or 3.5-hour charge, allows you to charge in less than an hour. And so these chargers are placed all around Sao Paulo in coffee shops, yoga studios, bookstores, restaurants, you name it. And we're gonna release one here in New York City, but starting to take a page out of the automobile industry of how we can start to incorporate some of the charging technology into e-bikes and some standardization. I was just watching yours and other people's review of the new Tesla plug and just starting to align, why do we need 20 different plugs? How can we get this down to a couple so when we have this incredible charging infrastructure, we can all share in it and all kind of overlap?
That's actually something that I feel like no one is really talking about, and standardization is just so important for bringing it to the masses in a very accessible way. As far as that standardization goes, I really think that being able to plug into, say, a USB-C port is super convenient and easy, and everyone has devices that can do that, and also creating more utility for your battery. So what do you see as the future of that standardization? Is it going to look somewhat like that?
It's pretty fascinating. Some news came out yesterday that a bill in New York City was just passed on some battery standard and UL and some of the charging and electronic standardization. I think, and I'm actually, surprised if anyone's not interested in, more regulation and more standardization, because it's something that from a consumer protection, but also from a consumer ease and, aligning under one standardized plug, if it's USB-C or if it's some plug, aligning under that, it only improves, the customer experience, the customer safety, all of these things. And so it's definitely something that will be interesting to see as the e-bike world grows more and more, starting to see more of these standardizations. I truly believe in it. As we were talking about before, there's 60,000 delivery workers around New York City that are on e-bikes. And it's the fact that they have a variety of bikes and plugs and this and fire standard. It's this, we need to start pulling this together and aligning as an industry.
Yeah, I agree. Now you have a bike that has a very specific design. It's beautiful. I love the design of it. But in the future, what is kind of like the idea of where the product line will go? Are you gonna stick to the core of what your product is now, or do you see expansion into other parts of the business?
Yeah, so we're excited to, we're getting ready to release 2 products this upcoming year. All under a lot of the similar core elements. So design forward, hiding our battery in the seat post will continue to be one of our most important kind of design elements. And then hiding the electronics in a leather pouch is continuing to be our kind of one of our signatures. The ability to service that panel much easier is one of our big improvements going forward over this next year and new product. We believe you should have access to all of your electronics, not only to service it, but also to upgrade it. So inside the panel, there are upgradable componentry, and that's really something that we believe in continuing to keep our bikes on the road, having everything be as serviceable and accessible as possible. We like to say that 85% of our components can either be fixed off the shelf at any normal bike shop, or the remaining 15% can easily be shipped to you and serviced. We are going to be expanding and upgrading a number of our componentry on our bike now that we are in the producing manufacturing in the United States, which it will be a welcome upgrade. And then we are looking at expanding into other we'll call it form factors, getting into the obviously ever so popular cargo bike long tail. And so that's definitely in our roadmap. But our battery design will always stay pretty similar. We've got about 4,000 to 5,000 bikes on the road. And using and utilizing that same battery pack is very important to us. Our batteries can be disassembled by us, not by our consumer. The cells be removed, and we can either, we work with a partner to recycle those cells, upgrade them, and it allows us to, it's part of our recyclability of it, whereas, servicing other battery packs are pretty difficult. And so our ability to service our newer battery packs will only get easier with that.
That's cool,
going
because
forward.
a lot of people don't even take that into consideration. I've not heard an e-bike company really talk about recyclability, so that's really neat. So you mentioned service, but some companies rely on direct-to-consumer or having dealerships. So what is your distribution model?
So we are direct-to-consumer. Majority of our sales come directly from our website, but we are starting to work with more and more B2B partners. So you'll see more of our bikes in hotels and resorts and vineyards, and a number of other B2B partners are actually aligning very closely with our brand and distribution from that.
Who would be servicing? Like, who are you relying on for the service side of things?
Yeah, so we've worked closely with Velo Tooler, Velo Fix, all the others that are very mobile. We've also have built an incredible network of known service providers around the country and touch on most, if not all, of our major markets and everywhere that we sell. One of the lessons that I learned pretty early on when I lived around the corner from said competitor, who I have a ton of respect for, is the fact that they were shipping bikes back to their service center, and Cobble Hill was their first store, even from Boston, to do a basic repair, either on the battery or on the controller or basic electronics. And so that was something that Victor and I really connected on early on in the brand, is we had to be able to have service providers open up the panel, service the bikes, upgrade the bikes. He was actually going through taking some of the original bikes and actually upgrading them to, at that point it was a Vela 1 to a 1.5 that he was doing throughout Brazil. And that really gave me, it was funny, it made me think of like Cuba and like keeping cars on the road. And something that, for me was a core part of, look, you can get bikes out and you can send people bikes, but keeping bikes on the road is quite frankly the most important thing. That's also part of why we moved to Detroit. The ability for us to maintain and keep bikes on the road is a million times easier when our factory and our parts and everything is domestic. Van Moof just stopped working with their electrified S, which was their S1, and their S2. I can't even get a battery module to fix my old S1 to, sometimes I ride around on that. But don't tell anyone, it's secret safe. But it's incredible to me. It's like Victor has been keeping his bikes on the road throughout South America for 8-9 years. It's like that, a bike should last that long. Even adding some electronics onto it should not take away from the fact that these bikes should be on the road. These are assets. These are expensive, even at $1,800. You know, they're expensive products that people rely on and want to continue to rely on. You might need to upgrade update the battery or get a replacement battery, but that really is, there's no reason why the core component of a steel frame bike should not last a very, very long time.
So you've been working to build this company over time, but growth is on the way. You've been making a lot of things happen in order to get it to a point where you can get more volume, it seems. So what would success look like for Vela in, say, the next 2 years and beyond for the company?
Great question, and something I ask myself on a very regular basis. I think the industry is at a very interesting point where a divergence between companies who are venture-backed, who are deciding growth at really at any expense and going down that road. And then there's companies that are being a lot smarter about growth and about profitability. Electric is one in particular. We really are going down the road of the latter and building a core solid brand that's going to be around. It's been around for a while in South America. It's going to be around for a while in the United States. We might not be growing as fast as some of the competitors out there, but we are growing an incredible brand. And I think that brand, through partnerships, through exciting hotels, through really a core, hopefully cult-like riders here in the United States, although I hope, I don't know. Won't say hope no one gets a Vela tattoo. Everyone's entitled to do whatever they want. But I really envision that Vela becomes a beautiful e-bike brand that puts out incredible American-made product that maybe isn't at the same scale as some of those others who are venture-backed and, quite frankly, in my opinion, unsustainable growth. I'd much rather have a sustainable, solid brand that's going to be around for a while.
I haven't reviewed one of these yet, and I'm really excited to,
Yeah.
But what should I be looking for as the top key features that you believe Vela offers?
Yeah, I think Vela offers a unique crossover in something that is both approachable and subtle, and very, I always like to say my mother, 2 weeks after her hip surgery, was on her Vela, much to my dismay, going to get groceries. Again, don't recommend that, but she did. But then, someone who wants a speedier version can switch to the high power mode and zip very fast, passing the delivery guys here in New York City. I mean, it is very much something that can kind of match on both. And it's really the approachability. It's something that, look, there are plenty of e-bikes out there that you twist that throttle and you go 20 miles per hour and you feel the power and feel the intensity. That's not us. It's something that's much more approachable and something that I hope, and think that more and more people, kind of broad spectrum of people, can enjoy. There are a lot of white labeled e-bikes on the market, and a lot of people reaching out wanting to sell more white labeled e-bikes. When I talk to our engineers and our designers designing the next version and continuing to do what they do best, it really is inspiring that it is something, it takes a lot of courage for them to continue to design and build something different than what's on the market that you literally could just buy off Alibaba and slap a white label on.
Well, I'm going to be back in Michigan in a couple months, and I really hope I can have the opportunity to come see the facilities and the people, the Americans that are actually building your bikes.
Yeah, we're super excited. We can't wait to have you there and try the bikes and really see the facility and really see, an incredible team that's actually building frames, the electronics, putting these together, painting these. I mean, it's really, truly inspiring to walk the floor and see, what's actually happening there. And so can't wait to have you there. And our sister company, Detroit Bikes, also can't wait to have you there too. And we will make you feel at home and show you around.
I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to it. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this latest video, and please see the link in the description below if you want to find out more information about Vela Bikes. But until next time, drive, fly, ride. Go electric.